Well, good afternoon. It's hard to believe we've gotten to this point in the intensive already, right? It's gone by so fast. It's so wonderful to be here with you in person. I'm really enjoying it and savoring it. Um, so today I'm going to give you a little bit more sort of a structural view of Dharma transmission and a little bit of a historical view, and so you can situate it, what's happening. Um, You remember our chant for this intensive begins now. All ancestors and all Buddhas who uphold Buddha Dharma have made it the true path of enlightenment to sit upright, practicing in the midst of self-fulfilling samadhi. Those who attained enlightenment in India and China followed this way. It was done so because teachers and disciples personally transmitted this excellent method as the essence of the teaching. In the authentic tradition of our teaching, it is said that this directly transmitted, straightforward Buddha Dharma is the unsurpassable of the unsurpassable. So, so we will be invoking the ancestors, right, in the course of this process of Dharma transmission. And this Dogen labels as the true path of enlightenment, sitting upright in what he calls self-fulfilling samadhi. In other words, it's not something we're doing. We're not the agent of it. It's fulfilling itself. And in shikantaza, that's what you begin to recognize. I'm not doing shikantaza. Shikantaza is doing me, and that's the way you begin to perceive things moving through you rather than things you're the agent of. Does that make sense? Yeah, that's what he's talking about. And those who attain enlightenment in India and China followed this way. There's like no other path, no esoteric teachings. It was done so because teachers and disciples personally transmitted this excellent method as the essence of the teaching. So the part of Menju that Nate read this morning was Dogen's response to learning that Dharma transmission was being given posthumously to people who were dead. And then people would say, well, I'm a Dharma heir of so-and-so who, has Dharma transmission. And it was like there was a whole industry of that. And Dogen was dead set against it. It's about the intimacy of the face-to-face, in-person connection. And the more I practice and the more I work with students and the more I work with teachers, the more I recognize the wisdom in that. So both architecture and evolution are examples of structures that get created as the resolution of certain kinds of dilemmas. And I write about this in the book, so you'll know. But in architecture, Christopher Alexander talks about the dynamic tensions that might be material, social, psychological, structural, or any combination of those. So we have a door that leads out onto a little raised platform, right? That has a psychological effect of opening us into our outside public behavior, out of our inside personal behavior, right? So there's a psychological benefit, and also allowing us a little raised place to look out and see what's in front of us, right? So most houses have some version of that because it's a psychological need. It's also a material need, right? So you don't step right out into the mud. And so these dilemmas, these resolution of these dilemmas, are how structures get created and forged. So this is also true of the development of a spiritual tradition, which has to balance novelty, continuity, connection, and transition. Those things have to be balanced somehow. So novelty is usually what sort of promotes or fosters adaptation, right? So there's something new we've got to adapt to. Circumstances are constantly changing, and traditions find they need to adapt to the new conditions or perish. This is Evolution 101. So they have karaoke nights in Zen temples in Japan. They have, guitar masses. Those things not exactly in the original traditions, right? So that's adaptation, and it's the use of novelty and the balancing of novelty. Yet, we also need to preserve the core teachings that form the heart of our way, right? And that's the continuity piece. We have to somehow protect and preserve those teachings which have come to us for over 2,500 years. And continuity of the community is also important. We want to ensure that the community can continue and that it can continue in the ways that we've established it. Our ceremonies, forms, and most of all, our shared practice help us sustain our collective aspiration for the path. We come together, right? And we need each other to realize that. And we also need continuity of the story. And the story is, in any tradition, the story of its origins. So we have the story of the Buddha's life and teachings, the struggles that the tradition has encountered over time, and its reach. So there's a kind of poetic narrative that arises around spiritual tradition that includes the hazards, the dangers, the triumphs, and what we are about. Right? So that's all part of how spiritual traditions develop themselves. And then connection is really important because we cannot let our adaptation to novelty nor our longing for continuity overshadow our fundamental need for connection and mutual care. However, without this, we're engaged in a kind of a hollow attempt at a spiritual life if we don't have that connection. You know, I've been in many different congregations over time where I felt I appreciated the teachings. I thought the people were really nice, but I didn't feel that sense of connection. I didn't feel that they particularly cared about me, and I didn't know really what to do with them. So also we need to manage transition. So managing transitions is a rugged practice. Most of us expect that good times or bad times will simply go on as usual for the rest of time. On one level, we recognize the fundamental impermanence of all reality, but in actual experience, not so much. We want the good times to continue. We want the bad times to be over, when the truth of the matter is that all existence is one exquisite flow. And the sooner we make peace with the fact that we and our spiritual communities are always in fluid motion, always in transition, the more spacious equanimity we can abide in, as we're not agitating ourselves about the fact that things are changing. We accept the idea of impermanence, but not the reality of it in our own immediate experience. So spiritual traditions must support us as individuals and as a community in meeting the ever-changing fact of life as it is. So how do religious traditions actually get started? You know, where does this idea of Dharma transmission happen? And the beginnings can't be understood except as the stories we've told over and over about the very first appearance of the wisdom or heroism or great deeds or deep compassion that fuels our faith. The first dilemma, the ongoing dilemma for all time, how do we keep this magic, this light alive of the original fire that was in the teacher or the text or whatever? So after the teacher is gone, who will continue the spirit of their teachings? How will we protect and preserve them from distortion, misuse, or even disappearance altogether? How can this be done, and who will have the authority to decide? Will our model be the teacher, sage, guru model? Will it be the web of stories of people, origins, myths, miracles? Will it be a text like the Bible or the Quran? So for a spiritual tradition to survive down through the generations, there must be a method of transmission. This is the original dilemma. How do we protect and preserve what we've learned here, what the teachings are, what has happened here, what miracles were done, or whatever, for the future, for future generations? So one way that's been resolved is with the sacred text, and the kind of the sacred text serving as the backbone of the tradition. Some branches of Christianity, so you can claim authority by reference to the text. You can say, I'm a preacher because I can preach the true Bible, right? And of course, the Quran and Judaism is also a tradition of the book, tradition of the text, very much so. Another kind of structure for preservation is institutions like the church. Priests, ritual, the social architecture of a church. That's another way. The social and the physical architecture often. That's another way to transmit things to future generations. Schools are another one. And inheritance is one where it's father to son transmission. So in Japan, often temples are inherited by the sons. And so they go off. They may have little or no interest in Buddhism. Off they go. And since more and more of them are now not that interested, the daughters are starting to take a role in running those temples, which is very interesting for that society. So, and in shamanic traditions, it's often handed down that way, to from father to son, or grandfather to son, grandson, or and then there's a method of transmission that has to do with people, as we do in Buddhism, warm hand to warm hand. It's the connection and care for each other that establishes what is wise, what is appropriate. Another method is through lore. So mythic stories and traditional ways shared with the community about celestial bodies, about magical animals, the wisdom of the trees. There's a kind of lore that's exchanged, which I am very interested in, and actually, hold on here. When I was in graduate school in anthropology, I read this wonderful article, Morelli, Freud, and Sherlock Holmes, Clues in the Scientific Method. And it was all about how we come to know anything, how we know. And it described a distinction between high knowledge and low knowledge, which is also part of the spiritual tradition. So high knowledge is abstract from its origins and use. It's often written down, taught in schools, the domain of debate and argument, information presentation. It's easily distributed, and it's generally favored over what is termed low knowledge. It uses logic, scientific method, and reasoning to lay out its points. In Buddhism, we can teach the Four Noble Truths, the precepts, the paramitas explicitly. We have, those can be taught as concepts. Low knowledge is site-specific. Think Sherlock Holmes recognizing a clue, a tracker in the forest knowing which animals had passed by and how long ago. It cannot be taught in school, but it must be learned through embodied experience, and usually with an experienced guide or many years of patient observation. In Buddhism, meditation practice, for example, cannot be adequately conveyed in writing. I know, because I stumbled around for a couple of decades this way, imagining they could be. The application of the precepts in a particular situation in your life cannot be comprehended with more reading. Sorry, book lovers, and so on. Most spiritual traditions make use of both high and low forms of knowledge. They face a constant tension as communities and individuals attempt to translate low knowledge into high knowledge, writing down procedures and ways that are probably best transmitted through apprenticeship in situations of use. How to invite the bell, how to offer incense, how to bow, how to make use of a teacher. Those are things that can't actually be adequately conveyed as abstract concepts, right? They need to be lived experience. And most traditions rely on several or even all of these methods. However, there will be a distinct bias toward one of them as the ultimate authority. In a moment of disagreement, what is it that people refer to for its resolution? Now, do they refer to the text? Do they refer to the teacher? So who is going to be the authority in the situation? Ultimately, there is that sense. So there are these new dilemmas in the traditions. Paramount in our Buddhist teachings is the preservation of the Dharma, the Buddha's teachings, in ways that are understood and accepted in so many different cultures, languages, eras, and circumstances, right? Somehow we've had to convey these teachings in English and Chinese and Tibetan and Korean and somehow in those cultures. And we have to decide, where does the authority reside? And where does the legitimacy reside? So who confers the legitimacy of teachers and teachings? What grounds their claims to authority or truth? Do they have an advanced degree in theology? Do they, what is it that actually authorizes them and makes them legitimate teachers? And then there's this issue of collectivity, another set of dilemmas. How will the spiritual community come together? Will it be for worship of a deity, for camaraderie and fellowship? What kinds of rules or social structures need to be created to sustain the spiritual purpose of gathering? Like, what are we doing here? Maybe it's a potluck supper, And continuity, what enables the community or the tradition to endure past the loss of a teacher, past a pandemic that scatters people and makes them fearful of each other, past great political upheavals? What ensures the continuity of the community, of the Sangha? So in Buddhist history, originally, the teachings of the Buddha were committed to memory. We don't actually understand how that worked in those days. There was no writing. Everything was memorized. Sutras of many, many thousands and thousands of verses were committed to heart, and memorized. And so those feats of memory, we've totally lost because we've outsourced all our memory onto computers and phones, so we don't know how that works. But the elders, it's also very different. The role of memory in Indian culture, it's not only these prodigious feats of memorizing thousands of lines, it's also a collective memory. So it's about the elders coming together and correcting each other and collectively deciding, what's the correct wording of what the Buddha taught. So there were councils that actually, 3 or 4 of them over time, there's some debate about that, that actually met starting right after the Buddha's death to ensure the preservation of these teachings in living memory of these elders. Well, there's some problems with that. Part of the problem is, it's kind of a small geographical area. And so during the rainy season, all the, disciples would come from all over, and then they come and hear the elders teaching. But it's a kind of a confined geographical area, and all those elders get old, right? They're elders, so they get old. And so this starts to be kind of a problem. And about then, at that point, is the advent of printing and print media, which the elders shunned. Why? Because our collective memory is accurate and trustworthy, but anyone can take a text and turn it into anything. They can edit it any way they want to. They can add anything they want to. They were very suspicious, and they were not going to put any of the Buddha's teachings into print. But there was a renegade group who really wanted to take these teachings far away, and they didn't want them to be confined to a small geographical area, and they wanted them spread more widely. And so they printed them. And this gave the rise to the Mahayana. It was really print media that gave rise to the Mahayana and its distribution all over the world, basically. Teachings could be widespread rather than confined to this little geographical area. They could be expanded through inspiration, through instruction, through commentary. So in all these ways, we get this vast, vast literature. Some of the most beautiful and glorious literature in the entire world is the Prajnaparamita, the Lotus Sutra, the Diamond Sutra, Platform Sutra, the Avatamsaka Sutra, which is 1,500 pages long. The first 200 pages of which is closely spaced lists of attendees to this teaching of the Buddha. So this began this giant enterprise of spreading the Dharma through print and through, of course, the disciples traveling. And it went throughout the East: China, Tibet, Korea, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Japan, and on and on. So this was how the transmission was happening in the early days. First by the memory of the elders, and ultimately they ended up realizing we're all going to die off here. We've got to commit this to something. So that's when those teachings were transcribed onto the tea leaves, which became the Pali Canon as we know it now. But at parallel time, those teachings were also being written down in China. So the resolution of all these dilemmas around the preservation and continuity of the Dharma and the community is necessarily something like Appamada, a community connected by a shared aspiration for waking up and growing up, and committed and determined and caring of one another. It's based on relationality, not hierarchy or seniority or some sort of ladder ranking. That is our way. Cognitive scientists like to call this goodness of fit. So what you're looking for when you're a teacher in my seat is, what is the goodness of fit for someone for particular role or teaching or learning experience, right? That's what you're looking for. So traditionally, Zen is said to be transmitted warm hand to warm hand. It's a mind to mind, heart to heart transmission. And in one sense, that is quite true. It is a different method than most traditions use. It puts its faith in human relationships over the authority of the book, the church, or the school. A Dharma teacher, from the very moment they are themselves transmitted, begins looking for the person they will convey this precious Dharma to ensure its future and the well-being and the future of the community. But the teacher, at least in our Appamada Sangha, is an authorized ambassador of the Dharma and acts on behalf of the spiritual community, the beneficiaries of the wisdom and compassion of the succession of ancestors. If the community does not support the teacher, the transmission cannot be fully realized there. So therefore, I might say that Dharma transmission in the Appamada way is actually from warm hands to warm hands. So now we prepare to recognize formally Nate's role as a Dharma transmitted teacher. So here in this intensive, you've witnessed his care for the Sangha, his teaching, his capacity for meeting one-on-one in the immediacy of practice discussion, the way he speaks, moves, and carries himself. I've had many, many conversations with Sangha members about this decision. Without exception and without reservation, every single person has wholeheartedly endorsed it. It is so important for anyone stepping into this great responsibility to feel the support and care of the community. Nate is very well prepared to assume that responsibility, but that does not mean that we can simply rest on the oars. We must vigorously, as Dogen says, support the work of bringing forth the Dharma in the world through our sincere practice, energized care, and commitment to the Sangha, so that Nate will be able to thrive in this role and foster our Sangha's future. We too have a grave responsibility in bringing that vision to life in our practice, in our Sangha, and in the world. So, what does Dharma transmission actually mean? And we talked a little bit about this morning, this capacity to teach independently, be authorized to teach independently, even start another center. If we decided to start one, where? Pflugerville? Nate could be fully authorized to start that up. Is also authorized to conduct certain ceremonies that are only conducted by Dharma transmitted teachers, such as Jukai, to authorize other teachers through Dharma entrustment and Dharma transmission, to have standing as a Dharma transmitted teacher in the larger Zen world, and to represent Appamada in the community and beyond as its leader, a duly authorized Dharma transmitted teacher. This is not a non-trivial matter in the Zen world. It is what really gives Zen communities legitimacy in the eyes of the rest of the Zen world. Do they have a Dharma transmitted teacher? And there are many, 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 many Sanghas our size and bigger that have no teacher. And when they need to do a ceremony like a Jukai, they have to bring in a Dharma transmitted teacher from somewhere, from San Francisco or from somewhere else, to perform that ceremony. And anyone who wants to train to become a teacher ultimately has to go away to do that. So, so along with that authority comes a heightened leadership responsibility, which is an awesome charge to guard and protect the Dharma, to foster the well-being and evolution of the Sangha, to keep the wisdom and compassion of the Buddha alive in an ever-changing world. So we must help in that endeavor. One thing that will happen, some folks may remember that for 1 month before my Dharma transmission ceremony in 2014, I made bows to the Buddhas and Zen ancestors here in the Zendo before morning service. Each ancestor bow is accompanied by an incense offering and the ringing of the large bell. There are quite a few ancestors, so this takes a bit of time. Customarily, the bell would be rung by an attendant, but Kosho suggested that we might invite Sangha members to sign up for a morning to ring the bell. This was such a tremendous part of the whole Dharma transmission process that we decided to keep this new tradition. So there will be an announcement about this offering and a place to sign up for a morning to ring the bells for Nate starting October 15th. It's a very beautiful ceremony. And I think Kim has a link to when I did it and Flint rang the bells. We could include that link with the announcement, I think, and also on the sign-up form. It's a very simple role, ring the bell. I mean, just ring the bell. And a very kind of intimate connection to the person who is doing the ancestors. So, and it's a sweet way to be part of the Dharma transmission ceremony overall. So I hope everybody will consider it. It does mean getting up pretty early, but just for one day. So, yeah. But it was so dear to me. I took a picture of every single person who rang the bell, because it was just so dear that they would come that early in the morning, and that they were so dedicated, and it was so beautiful to do that little ceremony together. It was quiet. No one else was here. It was just a little beautiful moment. And leading into this ceremony, it just gave me so much in my embodied experience of the ancestors that I was going to be, carrying on. So I do hope you will sign up for that, because it's such a sweet moment. So that's really all I have. I wanted to give you sort of the background, the context, and what this means in terms of sort of spiritual tradition, how it plays out. And I want to open things up for people's questions or comments about anything else that's come up for you. I know you asked some questions this morning of Nate, but you may have some questions about this picture. Yeah.
I have a question.
Oh,
Where did it go?
It's up there.
Oh, you got it?
it's up there.
Oh, there were two
Yeah.
of them. All right.
Yeah, I have one. I have one, and yeah.
I know that Nate's public talk will be preceded by a week or so of pretty
Ceremonies.
intense interactions with you and
Yeah.
Flynn. And I know that that's private,
Yeah.
but I wondered if you could say anything around that or about that.
They're very, very formal ceremonies. There are 21 of them in 7 days. They cover a whole arc, starting with a ceremony of kind of welcoming an entrance. Meanwhile, Nate will be busy doing calligraphy on these long silks they're 6 feet long by 17 inches wide, and there's 3 of them. And there's a graphic design on each one of them that's entirely different. And it lists all of the ancestors, all of the Zen ancestors, down to me and Flint. So that's why technically Flint is transmitting Nate, because that way both of our names are on the lineage documents. If I transmit him, Flint's name is not on it yet, right? So we will be copying from Flint's silks. It's quite a project. So that's going on in the middle of all of these ceremonies. We did this at my house, of course, for Flint. And it turned out to be good, because I had various rooms we could set things up in, set the calligraphy up in one room and ceremonies up in the other room.
So will that be happening here?
That'll be happening here, and the Zendo will be closed that week. And we'll just be busy doing that, basically. Nate will, either bring a lunch or go out for lunch, and he'll be pretty much engaged with that. And the ceremonies have different functions. I mean, like, for example, there's one ceremony that confers upon him the authority to do the Jukai ceremony. So that's a whole ceremony of its own. So there's 21 of those like that. They've traditionally been shrouded in secrecy. No one sees the silks until they are ready to copy them, usually. Although Dogen was shown the silk lineage documents when he was in China, and was completely bowled over by them, just wept and wept. So there's it's very moving. There's one ceremony that is towards the end of the ceremonies that's conducted entirely in a red room. So we'll be decking this room out in red, the side room. But other than that, they're really kind of esoteric. They're not magical. They're not secret in that way. But typically they've been kept. Yeah.
So you had a red room in your house?
I put a red tent on the deck of my garage.
Clever.
Well, yes, except that it was the end of March, so it was 38 degrees there. We were in our robes. It was 11 o'clock at night, and there was a howling gale, freezing rain, just howling, tearing at the tent was like, tearing at its supports. Yeah, it's last, gasp of Mara. Just, furious.
That's when Flint received his transmission. I see.
So in the morning, that tent was completely collapsed because all the rain that had lashed at it froze into ice.
That's dramatic.
Wow.
It was very dramatic. I don't anticipate we will have that kind of weather. That's what I'm not anticipating in November. But yeah, it was, that was the only way to do it. There wasn't any way to do it in the house.
Where do the silks go? Do they go home with Nate, or
Yes.
they're not here?
They are your possession. You always have them with you. Yeah,
And will they be at the ceremony?
no. Nobody, you won't see them unless
Nobody
you're,
will see them but
nobody will
Nate.
see them except Nate
Okay.
and me. Yeah, yeah.
Is there anything that the Sangha can do to support Nate during that week?
No,
Okay.
Stay away.
Yeah.
No, that's really what I wanted to
yeah,
know.
no, there's nothing really. It's a very inward focused time. It's like an intensive times 10,000, basically. When he is not involved in a ceremony or doing some calligraphy, he'll be sitting. And it's a very deep time, I recall, very, very deep from when I did it. And you really need that containment and that silence. It's the only way. Yeah. And Flint and I talked about now, so this is an important thing to know. We talked about ways to modernize the ceremonies, to think about, should we modernize the ceremonies? Should we reduce the number of them? Should we simplify them in some way? But there is something really important about the magic of the traditional language and the traditional ceremonies. Yeah.
We could probably offer metta for Jess and Parker.
Yeah, take meals.
Take meals to the family.
Take meals to the family.
So he'll be residing here
Mhm. Yeah,
And you'll be attending.
yes, yeah. I'm hoping that Flint would be able to join us either for that week or at least for the talk at the end, but it so depends on his situation. And all I've said to him is, don't say no right now. Don't say no. You don't know. So yeah. So it's quite a process. You really know you've done something. You go through it. Yeah.
Well, just talking about that choice y'all made to stick with the ancient practice, I love it, just gesturing back to the talk of deep time and the big picture. It feels like it is much more attuned to that if you're doing it the way it's been done for 800 years.
Yeah. And what I felt when Flint and I were doing it was, I don't want there to ever be the slightest question about the legitimacy of this Dharma transmission. He went through so much hell with, other people. So where it was offered and then it was rescinded and then it was offered in a compromised way. And I just didn't want there to be anything, anybody anywhere in the Zen world who could say, but it's not really authentic because they didn't do these ceremonies, or they, I didn't want that to happen.
Yeah.
Not that they would, but they could, And we're doing things differently enough that people who are really wedded to the Japanese traditional model could easily get their noses out of joint, as they did with Joko, And Joko's very innovative form of Dharma transmission. Yeah. So, and in fact, those teachers are always saying, oh, we had to go back and do all those Dharma transmissions correctly. And I'm thinking, no, you didn't. She had full authority. She could give Dharma transmission any way she wanted to. The old days, they would just give you the bowl and the robe and go, run.
Did they actually go back and repeat things?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They did for some people. I don't know exactly who all of them are, but they told me they had. So, yes. Oh, this is going to be public knowledge. I'm going to be in so much trouble.
And will it go
No
to
supplements to send.
will it be that?
So after his transmission, he will be considered to be a lay teacher, lay
No.
Zen teacher? No, okay.
No.
But he
He'll be a
won't be a
fully
priest.
Dharma transmitted teacher.
Okay. all right.
So as it happens, Tia Strozer and I were at the mountain seat ceremony at which Okamura was there. And at the little reception after, Tia said, let's ask him whether, he can imagine giving Dharma transmission to somebody who's never been ordained as a priest. And I said, this doesn't concern me because it's not what I'm doing, And she said, come on. She made me go over it with her. Sorry, Tia. And she asked him, can you imagine doing Dharma transmission with someone who's never been ordained as a priest? And he got a look on his face I can only describe as a person trying to imagine a square circle. He said, well, no, but you're Americans. You do what you do.
Okay.
And she did later give Dharma transmission to one of her lay followers. So one of our commitments when we joined the Lay Zen Teachers Association is that we would give Dharma transmission to a lay student who had not been ordained. If you can't agree to those conditions, you can't join the association.
Which is what's happening here.
Yeah.
right?
So that helps clarify that. Good.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah. The lineage is full of people who were never ordained, but had transmission.
So I've been working on the website, well, I finished it, but for the Lay Zen Teacher Association, and really amazed that there's 130 or more Zen teachers around the country who are committed to teaching lay students.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no idea. Some of them have been transmitted,
Yeah,
and but they're all over. It's really a big deal. I didn't realize. I thought we were kind of like, a small deal, but it's a big deal.
no, it's a big deal. It's kind of a big deal.
And it's an amazing group too.
Yeah. Many people that you will have read at well-known Zen teachers and not even realize that they are part of Lay Zen Teachers Association.
And at some other point in their life, they might have been training priests, but now they're committed not to,
Yeah,
just to train lay people as we do.
yeah. So it's a thing. But for me, it's about the most important thing is that our students be recognized as part of a legitimate center, an authentic Zen center, regardless of whether it follows some Japanese model or some Chinese model or whatever, but where people are duly transmitted and in the appropriate way. So, yeah, this has been our charge. So Flint and I both were ordained. We don't fall into the category of someone given Dharma transmission outside of ordination, but all of Joko's students were. None of them were ordained by her, for sure. So some of them might have been ordained by Maizumi. I don't know. Any questions online or any thoughts or reflections about this online? We've stunned you into silence. Is that right?
So Peg, who did you receive Dharma transmission from?
Kosho McCall. He was a Zen teacher at Austin Zen Center at the time. It was an extremely generous act on his part. I began to feel like as I said to Flint, I don't want our children to be bastards. I want our students to be recognized. They go to other places for teaching or for training. I want people to say, oh, Appamada, yes, that's a legitimate center, right? And I began to realize the only way that was going to happen is if one of us got Dharma transmission. I tried to encourage him, but he was not having it. So I thought I had been meeting with Kosho for lunch because he was kind of a lonely guy, So here from San Francisco Zen Center and no peers around him. So we would have lunch. And so I sent him an email because I wanted him to have time to compose his face before he laughed at me. And I said, would you ever consider my studying with you for Dharma transmission? And so he emailed me back. And I said, I totally understand if you would, say no, because for institutional reasons or because this is what you walked away from, sister, or for what, for whatever reasons. So he said, let's have lunch. So I met him for lunch, Kirby Lane, Migas. And over the Migas, what I expected him to say was, well, this is something we can talk about. We can see, how that might work or whatever. And he just said to me, start sewing. So and for me, that was an incredibly generous act. He didn't have to do it. He could easily have brushed it off. And when you understand, if you ever understand how much work it is to do, I was staggered that he was willing to do it. So we studied together for 2 years, studied Dogen. I was sewing 2 years, but that was how that worked. Yeah. So I owe him an endless debt of gratitude, and so does everybody in this Sangha, because he's the one who made us legitimate, and I really appreciated that.
Where is he now?
I have no idea. He left Zen practice altogether, decided he wanted to become a Tibetan teacher. That didn't really work out because they told him he would need 5 years of study first, and he wasn't willing to do that. Then he went to Mexico for a while. Then he was staying with, I think, might have been Dosho Port for a while. He was teaching there. I don't know where he is now, actually. Yeah, I haven't heard in a long time where he is. So I'm sure you could find out at Austin Zen Center, but I just, But I just so appreciated his generosity and willingness and his warmth in it. He was very supportive. And I said to him at one point, why did you say yes to this? This seems, like something you didn't need to do, And he said, because we need good teachers. So that was very generous, I thought, a very generous thought. Yeah.
What year was that?
Well, my Dharma transmission was 2014, so I started working with him 2012.
Okay.
Yeah. It was quite a process.
So when we do the echo, we honor Shogaku Shunryu and Joko and then Blanche.
We start with Buddha.
Oh, right. I know we start with Buddha, but
And-
when we get down to
Then we come down
our
to Blanche.
founding teachers or whatever. And so I know Joko was your teacher and Blanche was Flint's teacher.
Yeah.
So that's a different lineage than who gave you Dharma transmission.
No, same lineage.
It's just, well,
Same
but
lineage.
it's not the same person.
It's the Suzuki Roshi lineage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, those are not the people we received Dharma transmission from. These are the ancestors, sort of our ancestors. And you don't list living people
Oh, okay.
in that list.
Oh, okay.
These are, long gone. And that's a truncated list of the ancestors that Nate will be chanting. So we don't chant the whole list because that takes a long time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And we have to figure out how we are going to weave in the women ancestors, which is another whole list. So when I did the ancestors, I did the women in the evening. I was just by myself. And I did the men in the morning. So we'll figure something out for that. Yeah, chanting the women ancestors.
AZC is named after Blanche.
I'm sorry, what?
AZC is named after Blanche.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Zen KG.
The show was at AZC. So
Oh,
it's-
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Zen KG is the temple name
Oh,
for
okay.
AZC. Yeah. Any other questions about any of this arcane esoteric stuff? No? How does it impact our daily sitting? Well, not a lot, except the ship is going to have a pilot in the cabin, which is good,
A co-pilot
a co-pilot,
or tri-pilot.
tri-pilot, like that. Yeah, it's like a tricycle. Yeah. Yeah, it's very, very, very good news for the Sangha. And it's very, very, very good news for the Dharma. But it's especially good news for Flint and for me, because we feel so much confidence in how things can move forward, can carry into the future. Yeah. Anything else? Anybody online? Yeah, we did stun them into silence. Look at them. They can hardly can hardly keep their heads up.
I think I just want to say, hearing all of the commitment that this takes from you and from Flint and from you, I just want to say thank you to all three of you for such an incredibly vigorous practice that you're willing to undergo, and for continuing. Thank you.
So I was at your Dharma transmission. Such an amazing ceremony. But Flint did not have that. We had instead a celebration of his Dharma transmission, which is what we're going to be doing for.
Right. It's more, that's more traditional, I think.
Okay, so there will not be a ceremony where we witness when he actually receives Dharma transmission like you did.
Well,
and gives a talk.
that was also after the fact. The actual Dharma transmission happened the
Right.
night before,
Right.
or at least the official happened the night before.
So what we were at, so a lot of us were there for that.
Yeah.
That was just a more formal thing of what we did for Flint, what we're going to
Right.
do. Okay.
Right,
gotcha,
exactly.
Gotcha.
However,
Thing at the
we
Museum of Laguna Gloria Museum.
that was my entrustment,
I s-
lay teacher entrustment. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a different thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we will have a ceremony in which the Sangha invites Nate to become the head teacher here. And so that'll be formalizing what we hope we've all agreed to. So kind of like a little like the head student ceremony. So there'll be a ceremony where someone will likely speak on behalf of the Sangha and ask and formally invite Nate to. What?
When would that be?
That'll be part of that time at KMFA.
Okay,
Yeah,
I see. Okay.
yeah. Yeah, Flint and I are undecided yet whether that's gonna happen before or after the talk, so we're trying to sort all that out. Yeah,
I'm gonna say no and walk out,
yeah, no. Absolutely no.
just to make it interesting.
I don't want to, like, I'm not asking for total certainty, but so you said head teacher, but they're still head teachers because you
Yeah.
said you're not dead yet.
Yeah, not dead yet.
So
Yes.
this isn't like your full on retirement.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. I'm just curious because you did say singular head teacher here.
Well, he will be the head teacher that's being invited in that ceremony.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's considered a senior teacher.
Yeah.
So that's the distinction.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, well, partly our structure is so different from a traditional temple, where there's all kinds of variations of the hierarchy, and they all have their own names, their own titles. But our system is simpler, for one thing, and for another thing, it's unconventional. So temples don't have councils, they don't, there's a lot of ways that we are doing things architecturally that are different. So we're still an emergent process, right? We've not done an in-house Dharma transmission like this, right? So in each case, we have to sort out what is it that we're going to do exactly, and how are we going to accomplish it, and what is it going to mean for the Sangha, and we have to do things like this to kind of explain things so people have a sense of what it is we're embarking in, together.
Yeah, that's why I actually asked that question, because I can imagine people like, so wait, who's the head teacher now? And this way I can say we now have 3 head teachers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is an abundance of riches, but
Yes.
2 of them don't live here in
Right.
town. So that's why this is a unique situation, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. But we're not, I don't think either Flint or I are going to hang up our spurs anytime soon.
Yeah, y'all seem very young.
I know, we seem young to ourselves. We try not to look in the mirror when we go by. Some disconfirming evidence there. Yeah, so it's been great having this intensive sort of leading up to this and preparing us for this is our statement in the world. This is one of the ways in which we show up as bodhisattvas in the world, is to have a space like this, which is dedicated to the nourishment of the mind, the body, the spirit, and the teachings. So it's not always that we sail out into the wind here and, save souls. It's really, I think, the existence of the Sangha is really important. Okay, I see you're all mute. We very much appreciate you being part of this. Yes, Rosemary.
So I guess I'll say something. No, I'm sorry. Can you hear music? It's a big thing going on in the park across the street. But on November 16th at 2 p.m. is Nate's celebration. So that's going to be offsite the way that Flint's was?
Yes.
At a site off away. Okay. All right.
In the same place that Flint's was.
Oh, okay.
And it'll be live streamed. Yeah.
But we expect you to be here, Rosemary.
That's why I'm asking. Plan ahead.
Yeah. Come if you can. It's going to be quite a party. Yeah. Well, first of all, bless you, all of you, for taking this time for us to be together in this way and to share this wonderful teaching of Joanna Macy. I so appreciate your presence, each and every one of you. It's been such a treat to be with you. I don't get to do this at home, right? And so it's very, very special when I get to be with you. Special for me. I especially want to give some thanks to each of you for all of the ways you help support this. Kim doing the AV coordinating and our online AV monitors. It's been so wonderful to have your capable support and care. Our wonderful timekeepers, Clayton, Jessica, our tea table folks, and thank you so much. Our monitors, everybody had a job. Arjisha, John Eric. It's just wonderful to be living together in this way. I thought when we were sitting in this last sitting period, I thought, if Jessica doesn't ring the bell, we could just do this forever. It's so peaceful, right? So I really, really appreciate the ways that everybody comes together to make this happen and to keep our space well and to keep our Sangha and our Dharma alive. It's really important. So thank you.
And thanks also to your spouses and kids and everyone else who
supported
you and allowed you to pull away from ordinary life to do these things. And also, in particularly, thank you for meeting me with such energy and care in both your practice discussions and our shared spaces together. I'm really heartened by what I sense in the Sangha from people who've been here long before I was ever here. And for folks who are just showing up at the door, we had to turn away one or two. We're like, oh, you have an intensive. But there's some folks who are interested. There's energy and aliveness here, and that's exciting.
And Manuel is in Brazil, but he's been editing our recordings.
Wonderful.
It's wonderful. He's there for a month and he's willing to do this while he's away. It's so lovely. I really appreciate that. So if there's anything you want to share or reflect on about from this week together, this is a good time and space for that. Joan?
Well, I have a new attitude.
New attitude.
I knew that things will work out, but I am more optimistic for the humans now after today, after this week. And I really appreciated that list of things that we could do that Joanna Macy worked with that group on. That really helped me understand that. And so I really appreciate the teaching so much. And it really goes along with Nate getting Dharma transmission because it is a continuation that the system, the universe is continuing wholeheartedly and wholesomely. And it was nice how those two came about. And it was only about 2 days ago that I realized that I am now an online person. It's been 2.5 months now, but I hadn't realized it. And I am so deeply grateful for everyone who has signed up to be AV Monitor. It is such a gift to those of us who are online. Thank you so much.
Sandra?
Well, I just wanted to say thank you for being here, Peg, and offer yourself like always, wholeheartedly to all us. So, and thank you, Nate, for the teachings. I'm really feeling very, very touched. They're really to help you, to support you in this new phase. And really, we are so lucky to have you. So, and the teaching, everybody, but to be part of this, and the teachings were really, I was saying, Nate, it's like, again, it's a reminder, we know that, and we get very energized, and we go to everyday lives, and we forget. So for me, this is like keep reminding each other again and again, and keep coming back to the cushion. That's really, for me, is really my practice. So really thank you. Appreciate everybody.
Joel?
Peg, thank you so much for coming to Austin. Thank you so much for all the work that you have poured into this community for so long. Thank you for your careful planning for the future of Appamata and the kind of ways you've adjusted to as things have changed to optimize what can be done for your role as a teacher, for your role as a leader for the community. I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful to Nate. Wonderful teaching this week, and I said something about it's not what, but how. And when we were reflecting on transmission before, and the how is really being inhabited in a way that really matters to me with you, Nate. Thank you. On Monday morning, I had practice discussion with Nate, and I led off by describing my despair and saying, Joanna Macy says we should, fight for the environment and come together and try and figure out ways for social justice and racial healing and so on. And guess what? We've been trying those, and now every one of them is not only being dismantled, but we are being told that we are enemies of the state for attempting them. And this will only get worse. This is what I said to Nate at the time. And what I have learned from sharing with people this week and the teachings, specifically the teachings, and specifically I don't know, I can't put my finger on it right now, but I do have a different feeling. Like Joan, I feel different than I did on Monday morning. And I just feel renewed gratitude to the ancestors in the Dharma, to literally to my own ancestors who came to this country at various times from various other places, from Slovakia and Jamaica, and some from Nigeria, and some from England, and those kinds of things. I feel different toward them because of what I learned this week, because of the evocation of gratitude and appreciation. And I feel different toward my own life story, that it's more like, to be able to see that as a hero's journey instead of just things that I was afraid to look at. That's very different for me. So deep gratitude.
Michael?
So first off, Peg and Nate, I appreciate so much that all the preparation you put into this. And here I am at the end of this week, and all the muscles in my back are sore and aching, and my heart muscles are now open. And this work and all the people here have allowed me to feel part of this Sangha and part of the world with a responsibility towards it. So thank you so much.
Yeah, you got that. No, go ahead. Okay. Let's see. I part of the reason why I have so much gratitude, but also for the people who are keeping the lights on, the board. Kim's always taking care of things. He showed me a new way to light the candle this week. The level of detail, getting to really stare at the schedule for hours, and it's so neat. And I was like, she's a master of chart making. And then even the detail of the work that connects with this. There's 3 different fonts on this, y'all. I mean, so there's just so much care that happens so that we can have this extraordinary experience. And Susan, for being president of the board, I mean, that is a lot of work. And I always, wonder how we're doing financially, and I'm so grateful that I'm not carrying that right now. So thank you for carrying that for us. And then the last thing, the teachings have been amazing and very inspiring. And I have a appointment, not like a date tomorrow with my friend at this political organizing group that has 700 people in it. So that we can talk about that list of the work that reconnects and see how to present it to that group. So it's really, really useful, and it's what they all need to hear, because everyone is kind of like Joel, like scared. I mean, not that you were scared, but feeling dread. Yeah. So thank you.
So I think what I'm taking away is that we need karaoke on Wednesday night.
I think so. I think that's probably the missing ingredient.
Okay, good. I just wanted to say thank you to all of you. The participation has been so beautiful, just to hear everyone's process and the wholehearted effort that everyone came forward. And Dan, I really need your advice at some point on bell ringing still. I would love to have like a workshop with you, because you do amazing bells. I've been comparing myself the whole time. Thank you.
Well, I'll just echo what everybody said, but I remember last Sunday night when I walked in here and I just got hit with this big hit of gratitude for just the privilege of being able to be here and be with all of you. And it feels like, especially after this week, that what we're doing here is so important. And I'm so grateful to everybody for participating in that, and the two of you for guiding us through it.
Yeah, I always leave intensives feeling very, very appreciative and grateful. It's always so nice to have you back here, Peg. And to think about how when you were here, I never heard you complain or anything, and just your commitment to being here every day and to sitting before we all sat so you could have practice discussion is just amazing. And now now that you're somewhere else, we have folks here who are filling in that role, and it's really awesome to see and to be part of that too. Nate, I'm really excited for you stepping into this role and just like energized and really looking forward to how this is gonna continue on. Yesterday I had an experience during the open period where I was wading through water and trying not to ripple. And just as I walked past everyone, including people online, I just totally sensed everyone's Buddha nature and just like their support for me and for the Sangha. And it just, I just feel very grateful for that. So thank you.
When I first arrived and we were going around the circle on Sunday night, I told you how low my mood was. And I have deep appreciation for the interactions through the various opportunities you gave us to work in twos and the creativity of the imagining things 200 years from now. And I can tell you that it's really helped me shift my lens because I spend so much time alone since I live alone, and it's really something I'll be resonating with greatly. Thank you. I came into this very much like Joel, very depressed about the state of things in the world. And this today at lunch, as we said the meal chant, there was a part in there about being grateful for the food and letting it be for all nations. And I was just so moved by that, given again the state of the world. But something that has changed for me this week through the talks on Joanna Macy is the recognition that I still believe things will get worse before they will get better, but the realization that I'm not in this alone, and that the people that are fighting this are not going to give up, no matter how dire the circumstances are or how deeply distressed it makes us. We are not going to just stick our heads in the sand and pretend that it's not there. And that feels really hopeful, even though I believe it will get worse. That feels really hopeful for me. So I'm very appreciative of the teachings, very appreciative. And I kind of feel like we're at the beginning of something with Nate stepping into this new role. I feel like we're going to be able to say, I knew you win. Thank you.
Well, I feel very grateful to the two of you, and I've really, it's been such a rich experience for me. And like Joel and a lot of other people, I have felt not just despair, but I have felt myself to be extremely reactive. It's just like I'm just outraged by another thing in every minute, you know. And this has really helped me step back from that and see this in a larger context, which has, in a way, made it I don't want to say less powerful, because it is very powerful, but it's made it less, I feel less reactive around it. You know, I feel like, oh, that's another example of that larger thing that's happening, you know. And so it's really given me a perspective and a little bit of calmness that I have really needed, you know. And so I'm very grateful for that. And I want to read more of Joanna Macy, and I've been reading Thomas Berry. And anyway, but also I just want to say how excited I am, Nate, about your new role, and thank you, Peg, for making this happen. And I just think it's going to be a wonderful, exciting time for the Sangha. So I'm feeling very happy and in anticipation of that. So it's good to be with you all.
I've been doing a lot of intensives and retreats this last year. And I keep telling myself not to sign up for the next one so I can take a break. But when I saw this one announced, I immediately signed up because, you know, Peg, you were going to be here, and that's such a rare opportunity. And I saw that this was kicking off your Dharma transmission, everything, you know, the public side at least. And I hope you feel how much support there is for you here. I feel that you do, and I'm so excited that this is like the first phase of that process. So just really excited for you and for us. So thank you. Thank you for saying yes.
Three things. One is I'm really proud of one of my contributions, and that is sending out the schedule that then changed. Because the contribution is, of course, in the manufactured intensive, and that became such a nice process. And when hasn't a schedule changed? And it takes me back to my first teacher. It was in the afternoon, and he said, "You sit till I come back. I'm going to take a little nap." The guy never woke up. I mean, he woke up finally, but one by one, as it got dark, we started leaving. And that was so wonderful. Not that he came back. I mean, we never saw him again that evening. But, and I kind of asked myself, well, what would I do now? Would I just stay there sitting until until we got kicked out by, I don't know. The second thing is, I think it worked really well to just have one practice discussion with one of you, because we've gone crazy in the last couple of intensives trying to do with everyone, and it was more important to be sitting next to you than to talk to you. You know, I mean, there was enough talk, so that was good. And third, well, I became aware, and I talked to Nate about this in our practice discussion, I became aware that these circulating thoughts in my mind were basically negative things. And then I decided, well, I'm going to just start doing positive thoughts. And Nate really questioned about, as we've been doing in the whole week, the value of the negative thoughts, and also how they kind of, why do I have them, and how they're related to my core beliefs and things like that. And it released in a certain way, rather than just saying, I'm not going to do those thoughts anymore. It released them. And that was very, very useful. So thank you.
Yeah, there's a kind of a Tibetan saying about that, leave the arisings in the arising, right? Just leave the arisings in the arising. So also, I just wanted to say thank you to Nate, because it's really lovely to teach with you. It's really fun and easy and relaxed and enjoyable. And I feel like we're sort of on the same page all the time about what it is that is needed and what we want to do.
Yeah.
And how people are responding to the things we're doing.
Yeah, it was fun. We were kicking this back and forth in July in
Yeah.
Chicago.
Yeah.
We were just kind of noodling and, oh, what about this? That was fun.
Yeah, it was very fun. Rosemary?
Yeah, so where do I start? I feel very nourished by the whole experience with everyone. Thank you, Peg and Nate, for these great talks, which I can take in like about 1/10 of. It's just not the way my mind works, but that's a good 10th, so thank you. And I wanted to share something that just spontaneously happened, and it's a little bit of the time travel thing that you encouraged us to do. So the other day I came back from my walk in the morning, and I'm coming into the apartment, and I thought, what if I was just observing my mind? And then I thought, well, no, what if someone was observing my mind? And then I thought, well, it could be you. Well, what if Buddha was observing my mind? And yeah, so we had this, I made the bed, and then I was leaned against the wall, and I looked to the other side, and I looked at all the things that were there. So that's really busy, that should really change. And Buddha had a different perspective. He said, well, over here you have this mural of Paris, which you love. So it's really personal. You have these 2 paintings that you did. These are all parts of you. So that's another, anyway, I just wanted to share the whole, this time thing happened with, it was really, and that's kind of continued, just observing my mind. So thank you for wherever that came from in this whole experience. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And I also wanted to say that in these 5 years, with being an online participant, I don't like online person, and online people sounds like aliens or something to me. An online participant, there's been so much more awareness in the Zendo to making this whole and making the experience of everyone as optimal as possible. And it's really, really appreciated. And I always think of the teachers. If I were in your seat, to me, it would be like watching a tennis match. You're this way and you're that way. And it would be very challenging. So I appreciate that it's not easy. So thank you.
We're learning how to do this better and better, I think. It's a process.
Yeah. So thank you for those changes.
We have 3 minutes.
Ellen?
Am I on?
Yeah.
I want to express the same gratitude that everybody has expressed. And simply to add, sitting together has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
I'm going to do a picture.
We're going to do a picture? Okay. We're doing an online picture first, or?
No, we'll do it all together and then it will be fine. Oh, no, I think a spotlight, if you could spotlight the Zendo and do a picture of that. Or Michael, if you're going to be doing this.
So I've already gotten some screenshots of where people are now, plus the postage stamps of the people online.
But how about if
So I have
spotlight the Zendo and then do a screenshot of that?
It is spotlit.
Okay, and then you did gallery view.
And the gallery, I have a gallery view of the online participants, And so they're an inset now in the larger Zendo that looks like the gallery is on the floor of the Zendo.
That's perfect. You get an A+.
Well, you have to see the picture. Yeah, my description gets an A+, but what does the picture get?
I'll send it out with the recordings.
Okay. I'm just aware that Elizabeth, you
And Elizabeth, would you like to speak?
You're on mute, Elizabeth. There you go.
Well, just to echo what everyone else said, but one thing that I really, really appreciate, I love hearing from everybody. So I appreciate all the conversations and all the things that were so difficult, to give words to, but everyone, hung in there and kind of expressed themselves. And I deeply, deeply appreciate the Sangha. And what Joan said really is so close to my heart that I wouldn't have a practice without Appamada's online attention, to build the community. So I'm really grateful for that, and to all the monitors. It's so important to me in my practice. And always advocating for us, like, hey, we're here. That's not easy, and I really appreciate that. So thank you everybody.
Well, we have one thing we do at the end, the endless bow. If you don't know what this is, just watch and you'll see. You can start. As we bow to life as it is.